Here is a list of 10 scientists who died mysteriously. Number 1. Dr. Rodney Marx. Australian astrophysicist Dr. Rodney Marx died from acute methanol poisoning. What isn't known, however, is how he was poisoned. Suicide was officially ruled out during the investigation that followed. As more time passes, it's likely that his death will remain a mystery. Marx, who was employed by the Smithsonian Society, was part of a research project in Antarctica for the National Science Foundation at the time of his death on May 12, 2000. He had suddenly become unwell the previous day, even vomiting blood as his condition worsened. Incidentally, investigators have cited their frustrations with the National Science Foundation, noting a distinct lack of cooperation from the group, which made the investigation difficult. Coroner Richard McElrea stated that he was not entirely satisfied that all relevant information and reports had been made available to New Zealand police. Number 2. Dr. Don Wiley. When Dr. Don Wiley's dead body was dragged from the Mississippi River on December 20, 2001, his death was ruled a homicide by both Arkansas and Tennessee police forces. The biophysics expert was last seen over a month earlier on November 15. His seemingly abandoned rental car was found the following day on a bridge in Tennessee. The FBI soon became involved in the case, and they declared his death accidental, stating that he had fallen from the bridge shortly after exiting his vehicle. Suspicions remained for some, however. Firstly, the bridge in question had a 2-meter fence on its sides, which would make it difficult, if not impossible, to fall over. His death also came in the wake of the anthrax postings in the United States, with many stating that drive. Wiley was one of the few people who would have been able to accurately trace exactly where the deadly substance had originated. Number 3. Dr. Tanya Halls Mayer. In 2002, when 46-year-old geneticist Dr. Tanya Halls Mayer opened her door to pay for a pizza delivery, she was gunned down by fellow scientist Guiyang Matthew Huang. Her murder was witnessed by her horrified teenage son. Mountain View, California, where Halls Mayer lived, had only seen one murder the entire previous year. Huang sped away in his car, and his body was found shortly after. He'd apparently taken his own life. Although police were unaware of the motive for the murder, there was speculation that Huang had killed his former supervisor as an act of revenge for her firing him over a company rules matter. Employees of PPD Discovery, where Halls Mayer and Huang had worked, were instructed not to talk to the media about the killing, which only wrapped the whole incident in even more mystery. Number 4. Dr. Benito Kay. On November 12, 2001, the grim discovery of Dr. Benito Kay's dead body was made outside his laboratory on the grounds of Miami Medical School in Florida. He had been beaten badly and appeared to be the victim of an apparent mugging. Local media apparently reported at the time that 4 men wearing dark clothing and carrying baseball bats had been seen in the immediate vicinity at the time of the scientist's death. However, these allegations were refuted by police, who stated Kay had died from cardiac arrest. They then promptly refused to discuss the matter publicly, which only fueled rumors of an alleged cover-up. Kay was a cell biologist and was working on infectious diseases, including the HIV virus, at the time of this death. Number 5. Dr. Robert Leslie Berghof. Robert Leslie Berghof wasn't just knocked down by a van. The vehicle was purposely driven onto the pathway where he was walking and then used to plow into the biochemist at the Texas Medical Center on November 20, 2003. The van then sped away from the scene, leaving the dead scientist where he was struck. Berghof was studying a flu outbreak that appeared to be hitting cruise ships at the time, and coincidentally or not, Texas was in the middle of a flu outbreak of its own at the time of his death. He was also an expert on gene mapping, which led some to believe that there was a strong possibility that his death, which was certainly an intended hit and run, was connected to his work. Number 6. Doctors Vladimir Korshunova and Alexi Lenski. Doctors Vladimir Korshunova and Alexi Lenski Russian scientists who worked in the microbiology field, were murdered in Moscow within 2 weeks of each other in early 2002. Lenski, who was also a member of the Russian Academy of Science, was killed on January 28 by what authorities simply labeled a bandit attack. He was beaten to death. Just short of a fortnight later on February 8, Korshunova was also beaten to death within walking distance from his home and left on the street. Korshunova was head of microbiology at the Russian State Medical University at the time of his death. Both murders are officially regarded as random attacks but have raised the eyebrows of conspiracy theorists. Number 7. Dr. Eugene Mallove. Eugene Mallove was a leading scientist in the controversial field of free energy. Perhaps because of this, when he was found dead in the driveway of his childhood home, many conspiracy theorists jumped upon his death as a planned hit, as opposed to a murder that had escalated from an argument over unpaid rent and a subsequent eviction. Mallove had been renting out his former childhood home to the Schaeffers at the time of his death in May 2004. The Schaeffers' son, Chad, along with his girlfriend, Candace Foster, and friend Mozelle Brown, were charged with scientist's murder. According to the investigation, Chad had returned to the home his family had rented along with Brown. The two men beat the scientist to death and then attempted to make the incident look like a robbery with Foster's help. Strangely, despite the obvious connection to the Schaeffers, it took police several years to make the connection and arrests. Number 8. Dr. John Mullen. Physicist and nuclear research scientist John Mullen died suddenly in June 2004 from arsenic poisoning. It is believed the lethal dose was administered to him through a health drink he had consumed earlier. When he died, Mullen was doing contract work for Boeing. In a further twist, his girlfriend, Tamara Rallo, who was about to be arrested for being involved in his murder, was found dead at her home by the police. At the time, investigators didn't divulge to the media if she had committed suicide or had been murdered. Regardless of this, though, there will be no trial for Mullen's death. Number 9. Dr. Ian Langford. Despite the strange circumstances surrounding the discovery of Dr. Ian Langford on February 11, 2002, the police declared his death not to be suspicious within 48 hours. He had been found, partially naked, with wounds to his body, which was bizarrely positioned under a chair in his home. Police stated that the wounds were either self-inflicted or from a previous accident. Other sources, albeit unofficial ones, claimed that his property was splattered with blood when his body was discovered. Langford was a leading researcher in environmental risk at the University of East Anglia, where he had worked for 8 years, even being described by his peers as one of Europe's leading experts in his chosen field. Number 10. Dr. Zhang. The 2005 murder of retired University of Missouri professor Zhang, who was also an accomplished protein chemist, is intriguing. Firefighters discovered his body when they were called to put out a burning car on the 3rd level of a parking garage. Once they had extinguished the blaze, they discovered his dead body in the trunk of the vehicle. There were multiple stab wounds to his chest, suggesting that he was dead before he was placed in the car. Almost a decade later in 2013, his murder was blamed on a career criminal named Timothy Hogue, who had recently jumped to his death from the same garage where Zhang's body was found. So those were the 10 scientists who died mysteriously. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe and comment below.